Question number 1. Name two sites found in Andhra Pradesh. Answer Halur and Payyam. Question number 2. Name two sites found in Kashmir. Answer Kufral and Barzahom. Question number 3. Why grains had to be stored? Answer grain had to be stored for both food and seed. Question number 4. What is a jadeite? Answer jadeite is a stone that may have been brought from China. Question number 5. What fossil wood refers to? Answer the fossil wood refers to ancient wood that has hardened into the stone. Question number 6. Which two Neolithic tools are used to grind grain even today? Answer the mortar and the pestle are used for grinding grains. Question number 7. Which was the first animal to be tamed? Answer the first animal to be tamed was the wild ancestor of the dog. Question number 8. Which were the earliest plants to be domesticated? Answer. Some of the earliest plants to be domesticated were wheat and barley. Question number 9. Which were the earliest animals to be domesticated? Answer. The earliest domesticated animals include sheep and goat. Question number 10. What do you understand by the term tribes? Answer. Many of these farmers and herders live in a groups called tribes. Question number 11. Which historical events took place about 12,000 years ago? Answer. Beginning of domestication took place about 12,000 years ago. Question number 12. Which historical event took place about 8,000 years ago? Answer. Beginning of settlements at Meherka took place about 8,000 years ago. Question number 13. In what ways grain was used by the early people? Answer. Grain was used by the early people as a seed, as a food, as a gift, and stored as a food. Question number 14. Why were people buried with animals like goats? Answer. The dead person was buried with goats which were probably meant to serve as a food in the next world. Question number 15. Where people stored the grains? Answer. They began making large clay pots or wove baskets or dug pits into the ground to store grains. Question number 16. Write one of the distinctive features of the village. Answer. One of the distinctive features of the village is that most people who live in there are engaged in food production. Question number 17. Where is the Dajoli heading? Answer. This is a site on the hills near the Brahmaputra Valley, close to routes leading into China and Myanmar. Question number 24. What do you know about the burials found at Meherka? Answer. When the people die, their relatives and friends generally pay respect to them. People look after them, perhaps in the belief that there is some form of life after the death. Burial is one such arrangement. Several burial sites have been found at Meherka. In one instance, the dead person was buried with goats which were probably meant to serve as a food in the next world. Question number 25. Why do archaeologists think that many people who lived in Meherka were hunters to start with and that herding became more important later? Answer. Archaeologists who excavated the site found evidence of many kinds of animals' bones from the earliest levels. These included bones of wild animals such as the deer and pig. In later level, they found more bones of sheep and goat, and in still later levels, cattle bones are most common, suggesting that this was the animal that was generally kept by the people. Question number 26. How do scientists find out whether the discovered sites were settlements for farmers and herders? Answer. Scientists study evidences of plants and animals' bones. One of the most exciting finds include remains of burnt grains. This may have been burned accidentally or in purpose. Scientists can identify these grains, and so we know that a number of crops were grown in different parts of the subcontinent. They can also identify the bones of different animals. Question number 27. Enumerate upon the archaeological finding at Megarkar. Answer. The archaeological findings at Megarkar are: archaeologists who excavated the sites found evidences of many kinds of animals' bones from the earliest level. These included bones of wild animals such as the deer and pig. Question number 28. Describe tools used farmers and herders. Answer. Stone tools have been found from many sites as well. Many of these are different from the earliest Paleolithic tools, and that is why they are called Neolithic. These include tools that were polished to give a fine cutting edge, and mortars and pestles used for grinding grain and other plants produce. Mortars and pestles are used for grinding grain even today, several thousand years later. Question number 29. How did people become herders? Answer. In the following way people became the herders. The one, women, men and children could also attract and then tamed animals by leaving food for them near their shelter. Number 2. Later people encouraged animals that were relatively gentle to come near the camps where they lived. Third, these animals such as sheep, goat, cattle and also the pig lived in herds, and most of them ate grass. Question number 30. List 3 ways in which the lives of farmers and herders would have been different from that of hunter-gatherer. Answer. The farmers and herders, they had lived at the same place for longer period of time, whereas the hunter-gatherer kept traveling from place to place. Farmers and herders grow crops and domesticated animals, and hunter-gatherers depended on animals for meat and used to gather food from the forest. Farmers and herders, they settled in hut and pit houses, whereas hunter-gatherers not have settled in life. Question number 31. How did people become farmers? Answer. In the following way people became the farmers. Number 1. The climate of the world was changing, and so were plants and animals that people used as food. Number 2. Men and women and children probably observed several things. The place where edible plants were found, how seeds broke off stalks, fell on the ground, and new plants sprouted from them. Third, perhaps they began looking after plants, protecting them from birds and animals so they could grow and the seeds could ripen. Question number 32. What were the different activities performed by the people in tribal society? Answer. The members of the tribe follow occupations such as hunting, gathering, farming, herding and fishing. Usually women do most of the agricultural work, including preparing the ground, sowing the seeds, looking after the ground, growing the plants and harvesting grains. Children often look after the plants, driving away animals and birds that might eat them. Women also thresh, husk and grain. Men usually lead large herds of animals in search of pastures. Children often look after the small flocks. The cleaning of the animals and milking is done by both men and women. Both women and men make pots, baskets, tools and huts. They also take part in singing, dancing and decorating their huts.